All right. Still trying to get everything set up here. Go over here. All right, I'm just testing to make sure everything's working here. Awesome. Give it a few minutes. Screen. Just making sure everything is working the way it should be before I go over this. Give me a few. Audio looks like it's working. Stream looks like it's good. Look at my YouTube channel real quick. I was going to go over a deal real quick. One of my private lenders, he lends me money, and then he's also looking to build up his portfolio. And so, this was a deal that he found, and I was going to go over a deal real quick. He just wanted to ask me about it. One of my private lenders, let me see if he lends me money. Okay. Sweet. All right. Let me turn that off. Turn that off. Oh, I'll keep that one on. All right. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and switch to to the screen here. So you should see this deal. Actually reached out. I know the guy selling the note, and so to give you a little bit of backstory. My private lender, he loans me money for these real estate purchases, and then he's also looking to build out his portfolio. Not only does he lend, but he's also looking to build up his portfolio. So, I've been helping him with a few deals, and he actually came across a couple deals. He loves, Ohio, Michigan, Texas. So this was a deal that he found in Ohio, and I actually know Dan on this one, and so we were looking at it, and so I know Dan. I mean, I know he does everything right with papers and in the way that he structures this deal. The only thing, it has a 3.75% interest rate. I mean, that's extremely low. And then he said that we're listing this at par. Please bring serious offers only, and par is asking price. So, and when I say asking price, let's see, more than likely he's looking for $68,483. But he says over here, make offer. So what I was going to do was a couple things. Is first, I like to run through the numbers. Let me turn on this calculator so that way you can kind of see that one. So what I like to do is I like to see if this loan was modified in any way, shape, or form. Because if it is, then like the interest rate or the payments or the unpaid principal balance doesn't really match up. When if you have the three of the values, three of the values, you can calculate for the fourth, and so if one of them's off, then it's been modified. So what I like to do is I just like to make sure that these numbers are sound, and so he has an unpaid principal balance of $68,483.85. Put the negative in front, and then 3.75%, and then 212.34. So when I hit this payment button right here, I should get this, where is it? $441.76, right? So if that came out to like 480, 329, 389, something's been modified. So you definitely need to look at this. So in this case, so I'm going to go ahead and hit payment. You'll see that the payment is $441.76, and it matches up with that guy right there, 441.76. Oh, hang on a second. Let me move it back over here. So, oh, hang on a second. Click on it again. So I know that these payments, everything looks good. This person's been paying since 2006. Strong payment history. And like I said, I know Dan and the way that he structures these notes. I know it's a solid loan. The only drawback is this 3.75%. That's my only issue. So, at 3.75, and I can't remember if he factored in. I think he factors in servicing fees on his notes, meaning the borrower pays. So I'll run it either way, so that way you can kind of see, get the gist for the numbers. So, you know, and he said he's looking for par. So, he's looking for $68,000, or maybe, something a little bit lower than 68,000. But 3.75, I mean, that's really low. Um, and then if the borrower isn't paying the servicing fee, then that's your gross yield. So you have to factor in servicing fees, say $35, and so your net yield is going to be 2.72. I mean, you can go look at a bank CD. I mean, just Google bank CDs, and you can go over here, Synchrony Bank, and they're offering 4.35% um, annual percent yield each year, right at 4.35, and I've seen one. I think it was like 6%, but I think it's like a minimum of 3 years or something like that. So which is really good. Um, so you got to ask yourself the question, am I comfortable at the 2.72 on my money, or do I want to make 4.34 or 4.35% compounding yearly on my money? So if I go back here to go back over to my calculator. Um, I personally like to make 11% or better, 12% or better. I mean, even if you did let me go back to the 441, what was it, 76? And that takes you back up to the 3.75. So even if you offering Paul or even if you wanted like a 6% return on your money, right? He's going to have to take, he's not going to have to take, but you would have to offer $57,712.98. But you also have to figure into account that there's a servicing fee if it's not accounted for. So the 441.76 minus $35. So your true yield on this is really 4.86. So if you're factoring in servicing costs, and then if you want to truly make 6% return on your money, then you would offer $53,140, and then you would back out your BPOs and your attorney costs, and if you go through paper stack, you could back out that fee, and or if you're not using private money, then you don't really have to back out those costs, or back out those costs. You can factor that into the overall course of the loan. I like to personally back those costs out because I'm always afraid that as soon as I get it, and I've had this, I did have it actually one time happen to me where the person paid me off. It's like 90 days later. I had to think back in the last video. I said I didn't, but when I was going through my notes, I did. It was roughly about close to 90 days. They actually paid me off, and thank God I backed out my I gave them my offer, then I backed out the attorney fees, the BPO, and then 90 days later, I got my money back. Plus, I made a little bit of money right on it. Plus, I also have recouped my investment, or my fees associated with the BPOs and the attorney costs. So, with that, if you want to earn 6%, you can offer 53,000. Like I said, I like to do at least 12%. Um, so my offer would be 35,000 minus the attorney fees and the BPOs on it. So you know one of these things where this, Dan's asking, listing at par, more than likely he won't accept it. So what I typically do is like, I run the numbers real quick, and then but if these numbers were like say 40, and then if my number did come back at like 35, I'm pretty much in the ballpark, and then I would reach out to Dan and say, hey, here's what I'm thinking about offering. Would you be able to do that? And then he may say no, he may say yes, and if he says no, then we would go back and forth, and then you'd have to figure out what your true maximum offer is going to be on this note. But if I go back and I look at another one, hang on a second. And then if you guys don't know, PaperStack is a really good source for notes. But I have a lot of relationships with bankers, hedge fund managers, and other note investors where I'll get a tape of 300, 400, 600 notes. I mean, I just got one a couple days ago of like 550, I think. I haven't even had time to look at it yet. But the goal is to today, tomorrow, look at it. And then I'm also trying to finish up my due diligence on a few notes that I did have accepted. I'm just doing the final due diligence on that. I'll be doing another video on that. I need to block out some of the information just so I protect the borrower's information and also the address. Just until I get it under contract, and then I close, and I can share the actual numbers with you, and then the address and things like that. But let's go ahead and look at another one here. I typically like first position performing notes. I like mortgages and deeds of trust. I'm just going to select mortgage. Oh, not deed of trust. Let me get rid of the deed of trust real quick. And then I'll do another video on the differences between mortgages and deeds of trust. Let's look at. I did this one the other day. That one looks like it may be a decent offer on that one. Boston note 19,000. So let's just look at that one. Performing note, great equity, seasoning is sold at 14.5% return. So let's run that through. Oh, here, hang on a second. Let me on the TikTok. I forgot that the calculator covers up. So if you can see that, these are the numbers. It has an unpaid principal balance of $30,819. 51 payments remaining. Oof, 3.23%. But he's discounting it to 19,000. Oh, principal and interest, $82.96. Is that right? All right, let's feed this into the calculator. Turn that guy back on for you. Oops. Turn that back on. All right. So if we look at this deal, let me clear up my calculator. And if I put the payoff, 30,819, 34. And I typically, like I said, I typically get these in an Excel format, and I do everything in Excel. I have an Excel spreadsheet that I created some time ago that I just, dump it all into, and it figures out, everything that I need instead of manually typing this in each and every time. 30,819, 3.23%, and then 51 payments. All right, so it says, see, that's where one of these things, I think they may have typed this information incorrectly because it's showing the principal and interest payments of So 82.96. I don't think that's right, obviously, because if I calculate that, it says that it has a loan term of 3,644 months. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Uh, so let's just go back to 51 months. Let's see what this. So if this payment is truly 647.54, and you back, or well, I'm not going to back out anything yet, but he wants $19,000 for it, right? So if we offer him 19 grand, that's saying 28.59%. I don't know if these numbers are really correct. Because based off of this 30,819, 51 payments at 3.23. So either the interest is incorrect or the payment is obviously incorrect at 82.89. I mean that's really really low. Yeah, that's where one of these things I would reach out to him and ask him. But let's go back and look at another one real quick. Oh, I keep forgetting the. And like I said, I like first lien performing. Let's just look at mortgages. If it truly only had 51 payments left, that would have been a really good one to buy in your self-directed IRA. So here's here's an investment balance, 88% yield, 12.3 at 28,000. Investment to value is 13%. That's I like it at least 60% or lower. Oh man, it's storming over here. All right, let's feed this into the financial calculator. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me turn this off on TikTok so that way you guys can see that. So you can see the values on this guy. So let's see. This one's 5604 Liberty Road, Union City, Georgia. Georgia's one of those states where you have to have a license unless you purchase it within your self-directed IRA. I have a couple in my self-directed IRA. But if you had a self-directed IRA, let's just run the numbers to see if it would be a good investment for you. Let me pop this calculator back up here so I can see it. All right, so like I said before, is I like to start with the numbers to see if this thing has been modified, see if the numbers all shake out. So total payment is $32,032,442.09. Interest rate is 10%. And there's 203 payments, 203.33. And the payment should be $331.72. So that one gels. Okay, so if we offer the 28,005, 12.17%, which it did match, but that's where you need to look at the documentation to see if the servicing cost is either paid by the borrower or it's paid by you. It comes out of the loan that the mortgage payment that's coming in. So if it's paid out of the loan, then you would subtract like say $35 from the $331. So this 12.7, this is gross. So let's just figure, so if we're assuming that that we have to pay it, right? So the 331.27 minus 35. So there's really $296.72 coming in. So your true net yield is 10.29%. Not bad, right? That's if you're looking for a 11 or 12%, then what you have to do is just punch in the say 12%, hit present value, and make an offer of $25,748. Then obviously then back out the your attorney fees and your BPOs, and then also the cost that PaperStack charges for the servicing. So that way you're truly getting a 12% return on your investment. Or you know, if you're buying this in your self-directed IRA, you can just roll those numbers into the course of the loan. And when I say that is, so 25,748, 43 plus, say, you know, it's going to cost me $500 for an attorney. You know, look at the document. I go through it, but I also have them go through it. Plus 250 for BPO. Plus, say it's going to cost me like $1,000 or something. And that's where, you know, I have to look and see what paper stacks costs are. I don't know what it is, but let's just say assume it's 1,000. So the true cost of this loan is 27,000. So if I put this in here, it's only a 10.88% return on my money, right? And so, you know, once again, if you're wanting 12%, then, you know, obviously you make that offer of 25,000. So you can either back that out or you can roll that into the overall course of the loan. Um, it's I've done it both ways. If I buy it in my self-directed IRA, I tend to roll that in so that way I get the yield I want. But then if I'm using private money to buy these notes, I like to back that out. So if the borrower were to pay me off within 30, 60, 90 days, you know, at least I can pay my investor back, uh, and then, you know, get my investment back and make a little bit of money on top of it. So, you know, if they were interested in, I mean, you know, you're close, right? 25 to 28,000. You know, you can reach out to the seller and make an offer on it. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, this would be something that I would be interested in. But the one that I was talking about just a few seconds ago, let me go back to it. I should have had a bookmark. Mortgage. Come on. There we go. Where was it? I can't find it now. Trying to find it. I can't find it. Maybe you took it down now. But the one that I was, you know, talking about initially, you know, that had a 3.25% interest rate. I mean, that was just really low. Um, and like I said, if you wanted to make a little bit better than that, then, you know, if you're looking at 6%, then, you know, you would have to severely discount that note. And, you know, a lot of times people aren't willing to discount that. That 3.25 is a very, very low rate. Here's another one here. I don't like Florida. Let's do, you know, that's like 132,000. I mean, you know, for that I could buy like 3 or 4 notes versus one. Same thing with the 142, 406. Um, that's another Florida. I don't do Kentucky. What else is down here? Oh, there it is. There's the one I was talking about, Dayton. Um, ooh, love South Carolina. I have it 123. I don't do New York. All right, let's look at this one. Hang on a sec. Let me turn that calculator off so that way you can see these numbers. Let's see. So they have it listed for 95,000 unpaid principal balance is 95,333. Total payoff looks like they have something in escrow. What does it say up here? Let's see. Let's just run the numbers. Let's see what these numbers say. Let me pop that calculator back up. So let's clear it out. Let's do this. So total interest or principal payment is 1,159. pop that in there. 10.05, 10.05. How many payments remaining? 146.01. 95,333 right there. Okay. Yeah, it looks like he's got something like escrow and stuff like that, which is good. Okay, let's go back to the mortgage calculator, financial calculator. Oof, he's wanting a little bit more than what it. Oh, he's wanting. Okay, so he's wanting the total payoff for like escrow. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. So if you were interested in making an offer on this one, I mean, if that value is really like 193, I like my investment to value at least 60%, 65% or lower, just in case I've got to foreclose on the property. I want to be able to have a little bit of cushion, and so if I take if it's truly worth. Oh, he just listed it about an hour ago. So if it's truly worth this 190 or 166, so 95,000, 95,975, divide that by 166, 58. Okay, that's your investment to value. If you pay the 95,000, I will not pay 95,000 for that note at 10.5%. Then also, that's gross. At 10.5 is gross because if you figure in 1159 minus your servicing cost, it's 9.87. Like I said, I honestly I like to make at least 12%. So my offer would be like 86,000 minus 500 minus the 250 for broker and BPO or title and BPO, and then I would have to see what the paper stack fees are. So let's just say $1,000. I would offer 84,359 for this note. That's way below. That's almost like a $10,000 difference. So if you offer the 84,396, 359, divide that by 166, that gives you a 51% investment to value. Just at the 12%. I mean, you may be fined at like 11%, right? So you can offer the 90,000, which isn't too much of a haircut of 95,000. I would not be offering total payoff on that guy at all. But there are some. Let me turn this off. There are some investors that are fine with paying par for notes, and there's nothing wrong with it, right? That it's whatever your buy box is. That's where you have to know what your buy box is. But anyway, I just want to come on here and just go over this one note that I was looking at. Oh dang it! I went back again. I meant to hit that listing details up there one more time. Sorry. Give me a few seconds. Let me go back to mortgage. Let me go back to Dayton. Scroll down. That one right here. That's the one that my my client was looking at. My private lender, and for the yield that he was wanting, I just told him it wouldn't be worth presenting an offer on it. We could potentially, I could potentially reach out to Dan and see if he'd be open to taking a partial on the payment. So, and the way partials work is, let me turn this calculator back on. So, give me 1 second. Okay, so let me run these numbers again. Clear everything out. 68,483.85 minus 3.75, 212.34. Payments 441.76. Okay, so say for example, you presented an offer, you wanted to make 10% return on your money. that's going to be a very significant discount that you're going to have to discount this note. And a lot of times the sellers aren't willing, and me included, right? That it's just too big of a haircut. But I do sell partials, and so maybe Dan would be open to selling the next. I don't know. So say you made him an offer of say $25,000, right? And oh yep, and you say you wanted to make a 12% return on your money, so you would buy the next 84 payments of this 68,483. So so for the next 84 payments, let me turn this camera back on here so I can. So for the next 84 payments, you would collect four minus up. Let me back out servicing costs. Hang on a second. Let me put that back on here. So the 441.76 minus 35 here. Okay, so say 25,000. Boom. So you would be buying the next 96 payments for $25,000 to earn 12%. So for the next 96 payments, you will be collecting payments of 441.76, but your servicing is going to take $35 of that, or you may be able to get that. You could get that servicing cost lower, depending on who you use. And so you'll get the next 96 payments of $406.76. So the 97th payment, after the 97th payment, it'll revert back to the seller, and then you're all done. So partials are a really good way. Whenever I make offers, oftentimes with note investors, they're just looking to be cashed out because they have funds, me included, unless it's my personal notes that I bought in my self-directed IRA or within my business account, but 99% of my personal notes are within my self-directed IRA, and I've sold partials on them, and I have no problems, because that cash flow, it allows me to get that cash flow, and then I'm able to go out and buy a couple more notes from it, earning 11, 12, 15% return on my money, where I'm just churning that money and I'm just dumping it back into my self-directed IRA. But like I was initially going with this, you could offer like let me back up. When I make offers, I typically make two offers. One is a full price offer, and the other one is a oh, sorry, I just got an email. The other one is for a partial. And then that way, I sit down with the seller and explain. Oftentimes, if they're sophisticated note investors, they know what it is. But if it's a regular real estate investor that just took back a mortgage, and they typically don't really understand the time value of money, and like what a partial is, and I mean, you could really get crazy with partials. With you can actually split the monthly payments coming in. I mean, so I only make two offers. I don't like to confuse the seller because when you start getting into all this other stuff, a closed mind always says no. And when somebody has too many options, it just bogs them down. That's why I always try to make sure I understand what their need and their want is for this money. But like I was saying before, oftentimes note investors, they're liquidating these notes because they have a fund that they need to churn, and that time's up, where they need to recoup that money and pay their investor back. So, in any event, hopefully this was helpful. I just want to show you it was a really good. I thought it'd be a really good learning experience when my private lender, he approached me on this particular note, and I just happened to know this guy, and I thought it'd be a really good video to talk about. And I'm trying to see if I don't think there's any questions. Okay. I don't know if are there any questions about this that you guys have, or anything about this, like investing in notes, or even like just real estate in general? I'm just looking at the chat here, trying to see if there's anything. I don't see anything. You know, and I'm trying to get used to the like the TikTok live. You know, I have a couple things going on, so I just want to make sure that you know I don't miss your messages um, in the chat window. So, yeah, I mean, if you have any questions about this, you know, please feel free to let me know. Reach out to me. You can schedule a call with me. You can go to talkwithlarryhoffman.com, and you know you can just book a 30-minute call with me, and you know we can just if you want to talk about this, or you know maybe you have a note that you're looking to sell, or you know maybe you're looking to you know put some of your lazy assets to work. You know I actually had a guy that had money cash. Do you have? Yeah, I've got Discord. I actually had a guy had cash, um, and you know under his mattress of all things, and he actually lent that out to me, so he's making pretty decent return on his money. So, but yeah, I have Discord, and I need to set that up. You know I've just been trying to get the you know like LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. And you know, Discord was my next thing that I wanted to do. So, like I said, I'm just really new to the whole streaming stuff. I used to do a lot of Zoom calls, you know, with just having people register, and this is just a lot easier. My intentions is to go live like every Friday at noon. What I want to do is either you know I want to do something like this, just pick a deal and just kind of go through it, or you know, talk a little bit about you know what is a mortgage note, the different types of mortgage notes, you know, the different types of you know like contracts for deeds, mortgages, deeds of trust, and things like that. So, um, and like I said, if you're new to the whole real estate investment space, please let me know, and then I can kind of cater something specifically to you to where if you're having problems understanding, or if I say something, let me know. I can stop and let you know and answer, um, so that way you can kind of you know because if you have that question, I'm sure other people will have that question too. And so, like I said, my intentions are to go live every Friday at noon and just cover you know some topics. And then the other thing is I like to do is have a couple of my vendors online with me that I use. Um, so that way, if you are in the real estate space, you know I don't get a commission from it. Um, that way, these are just people that I trust that offer a really good service, and that way you can use and you know to be. I've already vetted them. I've been extremely happy with the results that I've got. So, all right, I think that's all I want to cover, and I will next time. I will get a. I'll get my. I'll do a get my Discord all set up, and I'll get that linked in here as well, so that way I could go live on that one as well. So, all right, if there aren't any more questions, I'll give it a few more seconds here. See if anybody has anything. All right, guys. I'll talk to you if you want to be on tomorrow at noon, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. See ya.